Helen, often called Helen of Troy, was the daughter of Leda and super god Zeus. Zeus used to visit Leda in the form of a swan. Helen was often presented as being born from an egg. She was reputed to be the most beautiful woman in the world. When Helen was a child, she was abducted. Perhaps that was the reason why. When Helen did reach marriageable age, all the greatest men in Greece courted her. Her mother's mortal husband was most concerned, though, about the trouble that might be caused by the other disappointed suitors. Acting on the advice of Odysseus, the husband got all the suitors to swear that they would support the marriage of the successful candidate. So they settled on Menelaus to be the husband of Helen. She and he went on to live happily for a number of years. And she actually bore him a daughter, Hermione. Of course, not to be confused with that girl from the Harry Potter movies. Not the same one. After a decade or so of married life, living in bliss, Helen was again abducted, or she might have run off, with Paris, the son of Troy. Well, the husband got kind of mad about this, so he got with the Greek leaders. They mustered the greatest army of all time, placed it under the command of a great general, and set off to wage war with what became known as, drum roll please, drum roll. I guess the drummer's gone. The Trojan War. And after the fall of Troy, Menelaus took Helen back, where they lived in apparently happy married life once more. But after the end of their mortal existence, with the onset of the plague, he was staked in the head. However, as you will soon see, Helen of Troy, she, the zombie, lived on to see yet another day. Alexander III of Macedonia, better known as Alexander the Great, single-handedly changed the nature of the ancient world in little more than a decade. Alexander was born in the ancient capital of Macedonia. His parents were Philip II and Olympias. Alexander was educated by the great philosopher Aristotle. Philip was, however, assassinated not much longer later, and Alexander inherited a powerful yet extremely volatile kingdom. He quickly dealt with his enemies at home and reasserted the Macedonian power within Greece. He then set out to conquer the massive Persian Empire. Against overwhelming odds, he actually led his army to victories across the Persian territories of Asia Minor, Syria, and Egypt without suffering one single defeat. The young king of Macedonia, leader of the Greeks, overlord of Asia Minor, and pharaoh of Egypt, became great king of Persia at the age of 25. Over the next 8 years, in his capacity as king, Alexander led his army a further 11,000 miles, founding over 70 cities and creating an empire that stretched across 3 continents. Wow, he covered a lot of territory in a short amount of time. He obviously could not have done it by himself. This was united by a common Greek language and culture, while the king himself adopted foreign customs in order to rule his millions of ethnically diverse subjects. See, in order for you to be a good leader, you've got to get on the same wavelength as the folks you trying to tell what to do. So Alexander had that down. Alexander was acknowledged as being a military genius. See, I knew it. I told y'all that just a minute ago. Who always led by example. Although his belief in his own indestructibility meant he was often reckless with his own life and those of his soldiers. He was young. That's what young folks do. They believe they're invincible. I remember those days, not too much long ago. At any rate, Alexander went on to die of fever in Babylon in June of 23 BC. And that fever, as history continued on, became what is known as the Great Zombie Plague. At any rate, again, yet Alexander lived on again as young adult zombie king.